Hello viewers, myself is Dr. Neeta and you are watching my channel Learn Literature with Dr. Neeta. So let us begin today's topic.
Hello dear students, today we would learn about the first chapter of Orientalism, the title of which is The Scope of Orientalism. If you want to know the concept of Orientalism, then go through the previous video in this relation, because in the first video whole of the concept of Orientalism has been defined, and now we would discuss the first chapter of Orientalism by Edward Said. So the chapter first, the title of which is The Scope of Orientalism, has been developed by Said in 4 parts. These 4 parts are Knowing the Oriental, the second one Imaginative Geography and its Representation, the third Projects, and fourth Crisis. And in this video I have defined mainly the 2 parts of the first chapter, Knowing the Orient and the Imaginative Geography and its Representation. So first discuss about Knowing the Oriental. The framework of domination of the West over the East was erected by the Orientalists during 18th and 19th century on the basis of the study of the classical Oriental text accumulating there since the Renaissance period. So in the chapter, Said has described how the people of West came to know about the Orientals. So it has been done by the Orientalists. Orientalists were the people who studied and who made a research on the classical texts of the Orient. Orient means the eastern countries. As these texts were accumulating there since the Renaissance period, that is why the interested scholars learned and studied, and also they made research on these texts. As a result of which, what happened? See, gradually Orientalism developed and Orientalists started considering Orientals as inferior beings whom they have to tame. So this was the picture which was ultimately drawn, and how that picture was drawn I have told you in the previous video. So it was not a all of a sudden, rather it was a gradual process which has been carried out by the Orientalists, and through that process they ultimately started to think that Orientals are inferior, and as they are inferior, it is their right, it means it is the right of the people of Occident to tame them. Edward has quoted speeches and writings of the 2 British Orientalists of early 20th century named Arthur James Balfour and Cromer, who described the East in such a tone as if they were the authorities of knowledge and knew the East better than others, even the people from the East. So this was the trend in the West at that time. Orientalists were talking about East in such a tone, in such a way as if they are the authority over the East and they know each and everything about it. So this kind of perception was definitely indicative of the fact that they were very confident about the knowledge that they have gained about Orient, and whatever they were talking on the basis of their own experiences and own biased feelings about the Orients. Now the views of Orientalists about the East. Their description of the East was based on their personal experiences, and the things were interpreted out of context. This was a very significant thing. They had not visited the place and they were just gathering the information from the texts that were available there, and that is why they were trying to interpret the thing out of context. But on the basis of their understanding, they justified that the West had natural right to rule rule over the East, as they justified that the people of East are uncivilized, they are interested in petty kind of things like snake charming, dance, nudity, etc., and they are inferior to West, so West has got a natural right that they should be civilized by them. James Balfour thought England knows Egypt. Egypt is what England knows. See the ideology. Egypt is what England knows. It means the identity of the another nation has been created by the people of West. England knows that Egypt cannot have self-government. The decision was taken not by the people of Egypt, because according to the people of West, the people of Egypt are not knowledgeable enough to make judgment about themselves. That is why the people of England are making judgment that they cannot have self-government. England confirms that by occupying Egypt, for the Egyptians, Egypt is what England has occupied and now governs. It means whole of the definition or whole of the perception of Egypt is based on what the people of Occident or the West were saying. So this kind of attitude has been criticized by Said, how they have that right that they can pass judgment about the another country without knowing it much. Now think about the another thinker, what he says about the East. Cromer spoke about Orientals as objects. He goes a step further and say that Orientals are objects, something to be dealt with. That is why they have to be dealt with, which he had first experienced in India. He said that I experienced in India that people of India are like objects and they will have to be dealt with. And then for 25 years in Egypt, during which he emerged as a paramount consul general in England's empire, and he was considered to be a very great thinker in England, and people believed what he was saying, and ultimately they clarified that Orient is not at par with the Occident. Up to the mid of the 20th century, quite aside from the scientific discoveries of things Oriental made by learned professionals during this period in Europe, there was a virtual epidemic of Orientalia affecting every major poet, essayist and philosopher of the period. So as the concept was gradually developing, what happened during the 20th century and what had happened during 18 and 19, that has been described, and what was going on in 20th century. So understand this, quite aside from the scientific discoveries of the things have changed. Scientific discoveries were made during 20th century. Orient made by learned professionals during this period in Europe. People from Orient were also coming to study in Europe. There was a virtual epidemic of Orientalia. It was a kind of disease, I think, because people were mad after. So that is why this is called the epidemic of Orientalia, affecting every major poet, essayist and philosopher of the period. It means the poets, essayists and philosopher of after the mid 20th century were using Orient in the way as it had been presented by the Orientalists. We should also be aware about the historical concept of Orientalism. The concept of Orientalism may better be understood in relation to its historical context. This image formation was mainly based on the text written by Orientalists, who drew the image of East on the basis of limited understanding of their life. As I told you earlier, that the people of West were not having the exhaustive knowledge of East, still on the basis of their limited understanding. They were passing judgment. They were saying that the people of East are uncivilized, and they were making comment on the people of East. The image created by them strengthened with the time, and it could not remain confined to a specific category of people, rather it became pervasive. So what happened? That people were reading the texts written by these Orientalists, and gradually the image of West was going deep into their brain and it was becoming pervasive. It means all of the people were having the same image about the Orient. Therefore, Said argues the choice of Oriental was canonical. It was canonical, means it was justified with the passage of time. It was justified because a number of persons were saying the same thing. It was a repeated image which was projected about the Orient by one author or the another. So it was a kind of canonical. It had been employed by Chaucer, Manville, Shakespeare, Dryden, Pope, Byron. All of them were having the same image of Orient in their mind, which at one time or other gets reflected in the creative works produced by them. It led to construct the cultural stereotypes which were represented in literary, cultural and historical text. After that, what happened? Cultural stereotypes were formed, and because of that repeated image, and that were represented in literary, cultural and historical text. Thus, literature further strengthened the constructed image of East amongst the common Europeans. This resulted into the formation of the binary of civilized, masculine, organized, strong West and uncivilized, feminized, disorganized, weak East. So the qualities that are associated with East are uncivilized, they are feminized, they are disorganized, they are weak, and just the opposite were the qualities of the West. Imaginative geography and its representation. It was not merely a historical event, rather on the basis of geographical incident it can also be understood. Said is of opinion that the representation of the Orient in the West is necessarily spatial. Spatial means related to space. Orientalists drew an imaginary geographical line and divided the world into two parts by using the concept of ours and theirs. This was a concept that where the people of West are living, that is ours, and where the people of East are living, that is theirs. Said justifies it by the philosophy of space propounded by Gaston Bachelard, a French philosopher and a literature critic. Said also mentions the argument made by Claude Lévi-Strauss, a cultural anthropologist, that the mind creates order through arbitrary categorization and organizes the surrounding world. On the same lines, Orient was also created arbitrarily, merely on the basis of what was read or seen, but there was no solid theoretical background behind it. One special thing about this book Orientalism is that whatever Said has said, he has tried to justify it with the commentary made by the other philosophers. So similarly here he mentions Strauss. He was a cultural anthropologist, and there was a theory given by him, and according to that theory, that the human mind creates order. If different kinds of thing we are facing, or any human mind is facing different kinds of incidents or the things, then if nobody is going to organize or arrange them, mind automatically, arbitrarily categorizes them and organizes them. In the same line or in the same manner, Orient has also been created. There was no theoretical background behind it. Rather, this distinction is arbitrary, according to Said, merely on the basis of what was read or seen or what was interpreted by them, but there is no solid theoretical background behind it. To illustrate this, he gives the example of a group of people living on a few acres of land who set up boundaries and call the territory beyond these boundaries the land of the barbarians. So this is quite an obvious example which is making everything clear, that suppose there is a group of people who are occupying a land, and they have just put a boundary around the land, and they think that up to the boundary civilized people are living, and beyond the boundary barbarians are living. So this is a kind of imaginative distinction which they are making, and such kinds of distinction people usually make. Construction of the image of Orient. These images shaped not only people's identities but also understanding of the world towards the east and the west. With the establishment of the image of the Orient, what happened? People have made their own image, that the identity of the people of east is like that, and the identities of the people of west is like that. So but people have also developed an understanding of the world towards the east and the west, and they made a distinction. In this way, these images played an instrumental role in shaping the world itself. During the 19th century, image of Orient took shape as per the genre of Orientalist writing, as exemplified in the work of Hugo, Goethe, Newell, Flaubert and Freiherr and like. These are the Orientalists, and they gave a particular image of Orient, and people believed in that image. Said gave analysis of many texts written by the West to show how Orientalism has formed a highly powerful system of control. And by analyzing the texts of these Orientalists, Said has tried to prove that no doubt they have made a distinction between the East and West, but through it they were trying to frame a powerful system with the help of which they were capable of controlling East. It means it was a system of control which was developed by them under the pretext of this Orientalism. The matter considered significant by them as free-floating mythology of the Orient, an Orient that derives not only from the contemporary attitude and popular prejudices, but also from what Vico called the conceit of nation and of scholars. As I told you that according to Said, the image of Orient was based on basically the writings of Orientalists, and how the Orientalists wrote free-floating mythology of the Orient. They learned the mythology of Orient, and on the basis of that they erected a picture. And Orient that derives not only from the contemporary attitude, they have not understood the contemporary or the attitude of the people of Orient during 20th century. Rather, they passed the judgment merely on the basis of the things that were described in the ancient texts. And this another feature of this Orientalism was what Vico called the conceit of nation and of scholar. This was a theory given by the Italian philosopher Vico, and conceit of nation means that each and every nation has got an imaginary idea that this nation is the most ancient one, and that is why the nation is possessing a lot of knowledge, and all the knowledge has been transferred from this nation to the other nations. So this is the conceit of nation. It means each and every nation has got this kind of feeling that we are the most ancient people, and whole of the knowledge is transferred to the other part of the world through us. So this kind of attitude was there in amongst the West, and they thought that the knowledge to the East is also given by them. So I have made this picture on the basis of which you can easily understand the things what I have told you. See, on one side there is Orient, on the right side, and on the left side there is Occident. or the West, and West is trying to make an image of Orient. See, Orient is having a different kind of perception, while Occident has made the perception in entirely a different way. Now, who is responsible to give this image of Orient? To see, Orientalists are responsible to frame this image, and how they are capable of giving this image on the basis of the available literature from Orient. So on the basis of the literature, Orientalists created text, and ultimately they gave an image to the Orient. Secondly, this image was strengthened by its description in literature created by the great poets and dramatists like Chaucer, Pope, Shakespeare, etc. Apart from them, some of the Orientalists also visited Orient, but they could not depict the image, because when they came from the West, they came to the East with preconceived pictures. Certain pictures of East were so deeply integrated in their mind that when they came to East, they were not interested in seeing a different image. They just came with a purpose that they have to justify the images which they are carrying from the West. So they further strengthened this image making activity of the Orient, and a distorted image of Orient was projected by these people of West. So the Orient is a created image by Orientalists to describe the East to the West. Whenever the learned Orientalists travel any country of Orient, they always kept with them already constructed abstract images and belief about the civilization of the country they had studied. Their only purpose was to justify the validity of whatever they studied. I told you about this. Therefore, the image of Orient gradually degenerated in the eyes of West. Undoubtedly, it deeply influenced and reshaped the course of the third world literature, theory, art, culture, identity, etc. Orientalist spaces had been restructured time and again via the lens of Orientalism. It means it was a matter of continuous study. Orientalists were continuously studying Orient, and that is why the image of Orient was restructured, reshaped a number of times. A reflection of Orientalism, how it gets reflected, I have tried to justify by giving an example which has been mentioned in the book also. The culture of the Orientals was explained to the European audience in relation to Western culture. For example, Islam was converted to Mohammedanism. It was not called Islam, it was called Mohammedanism. Why? Because in their culture, Christianity came out of the name of its founder, and the founder of Christianity was Christ. So from the name of Christ, Christianity is there. Similarly, from the name of Mohammedanism is there. So it is a kind of interpretation, a small example of that interpretation which they were trying to do on the basis of their own culture. They were trying to show whatever was going on in their country, that is right, and on the basis of it all the countries should behave, or all the countries should work. The people of Orient themselves were unaware of this terminology. It was Again, a very mocking idea that the people, Mohammedanism, it means Mohammedan were not aware that they are calling their religion Mohammedanism. They were unaware of this, but it was very popular in the West and they began to be recognized by it. All this happened because Europeans thought that they had every right to represent the Orientals in the West. In doing so, they shaped the Orientals the way they perceived them, though it created a negative image of Orientals. Western knowledge of the East had never been neutral, since it always had a political and cultural agenda underneath it. It had been a way to express cultural hegemony of West over East. So, people of West try to use their knowledge of East not for the purpose that they are interested in gaining the knowledge of the Orient. Rather, they were having a political and cultural agenda through which they were trying to have a domination of West on the East. So I think you would be able to understand the two parts of the first chapter. So thanks for patience listening.